Who are you and what was your role in the Out at Cambridge study?
My name is Elisabeth Sandler. I'm a sociology PhD candidate here at Cambridge, and I was the full-time researcher for the Out at Cambridge study. So this means that I helped getting the ethics approval, and I recruited and interviewed all participants, and then I transcribed and analyzed the data. And of course, in collaboration with my wonderful colleagues, I helped writing up this report.
What was the Out at Cambridge study trying to do?
So with the Out at Cambridge study, we really tried to first of all capture the experiences and voices of LGBTQ plus identifying students and staff members here, but also to get a better understanding how they navigate their identities that are within our society still considered non-normative and stigmatized often. So how do people navigate these identities within a higher education setting, also within a professional setting if you want so, and then what contributes to them feeling comfortable to disclose or not to disclose, and also the meaning people give to feeling comfortable to disclose. And we did all that to inspire future research and basically make the first important step for more studies and bigger study around it, so we can really make a change in terms of organizational policies and practices, and also keep what already makes a difference to people.
Did it succeed in its objectives?
I definitely think so. We've been quite realistic, I think, what a 9-month study can do. So we were very clear from the beginning that this is an exploratory piece of research that hopefully contributes to something bigger as we go along as well. But in terms of getting an insight into people's experiences here and their stories around it and making their voices heard, I think the study was really successful with that. First of all, the report is very quote heavy, and we did it on purpose. And then whenever I gave a presentation, I brought in loads of quotes as well, because I think it really mattered to all of us that it wasn't us talking about people's experiences, but that interested broader audiences could read these experiences in the words chosen by the participants. I think if there is this personal account, this is really powerful in enabling a connection between people, and also helping people enter worlds they are unfamiliar with themselves because they might identify differently, but also for those who do identify in a similar way and maybe share these experiences to get a sense of community, and also of course to communicate to people that Cambridge is really interested and financially invests in exploring these topics and making the university a safer and more welcoming space, and to keep in the terms where it is already inclusive and welcoming, to keep doing that.
Why is the study important?
I think the study demonstrated, for everyone who didn't know, which is not surprising for those who might identify as LGBTQ plus themselves, but that these identities are still stigmatized, and even within a context where LGBTQ plus identities are accepted or potentially celebrated, that people have to do all this emotional labor and are expected to maybe explain certain identity categories to people and what that means, or to answer very invasive questions, and to be present as a representative, and how much work that can be, and also to navigate microaggressions, even if people aren't aware of it, simply because it is not an equal playing field yet, and these identities are still marginalized to some extent. So yes, I think it was really good in demonstrating that to everyone, because it shows us that there is still a way to go and that we have to be proactive. So I think because of that, the study is really important, what it signalizes, what it stands for, but also what it contributes in terms of making experiences that might be very familiar to some people, make them visible to everyone, and maybe also those who make decisions on policy and practice changes.
Has it made a difference at Cambridge?
I think we'll see the difference it makes and the impact of the study in the future. But so far, what I can tell, I mean, even having had the study, I think made a difference. People came up to me and participants said, just seeing your research flyer, your recruitment flyer, made me feel so much more comfortable because I see that this is something the university is interested in. I think the study inspired many events within organizations. I gave a presentation on the findings within Trevor Smith, a city law firm in London. I talked at Cambridge Assessment, at different Cambridge colleges. We had Q Plus events around it. We got the ball rolling, and now we can see more and more the fruits of our labor. And this is wonderful. This is really rewarding as a researcher as well.
What were some of the findings you found most important or interesting?
I find them all really important and interesting, but there are two findings I take away from the study on a very personal level. The first one is that there is pride in concealing as well as there is pride in coming out. So when I started off this research, I was of the opinion that coming out is the ultimate goal. And that had partly to do with my own experience of always being very unapologetic of my LGBT plus identity, being very privileged that it was safe for me to have this attitude and to be very respected in it. So I always mostly had really good coming out experiences. But then I think there's this massive narrative within media, whether that's social media or books or LGBTQ plus research, that coming out is necessary in order to be your true self, to be truly happy and have a healthily formed and established identity, and to be a good queer and gay. And this is really not the case. I learned that from the study, from participants. Not everyone, of course, is in a very privileged position, so it's safe to be out. And then this whole process of navigating the coming out process, if you are fearful about consequences in connection to your marginalized identity, really carefully watching what you're saying, or even if you trusted someone with that information, remembering whom you said what and in which context, and then to whom you haven't yet, and then how to come out, all of that takes up so much energy and can be really stressful. And then even if you are out and in a very accepting environment, the emotional labor that goes into being a representative of the community is also shouldn't be underestimated. So both situations can have a massive impact on one's mental health, concentration, well-being, and work. So there is pride in deciding not to come out, and it's an informed decision, and I think it should be respected. So this finding really shaped my expectations towards others and myself to come out or not to come out. Because I do think there is this pressure within our society, outside and within our LGBTQ plus community, to come out. And then the second finding I really take away from this study and find really important is that without the privilege of passing, coming out is not a choice. When I talk to trans identifying or participants who had gender neutral pronouns, I learned that coming out isn't always a choice, and they consider this concept not necessarily applicable to their own experience, despite being part of the LGBTQ plus community. And this is because they felt they were being readable as LGBTQ plus and therefore couldn't make this decision to come out or not to come out. And this decision, being able to make a choice and deciding on your own terms and conditions if you come out and to whom and to which extent and how, was really, really important. And all participants I talked to considered it massive and really essential to feel comfortable to disclose. despite not all of them wanting to disclose. So I think it is about this agency, this moment of choice for you to decide whether to come out or not. And not everyone has this privilege.
Were there things you think have been left out or underemphasized?
Despite my methodological strategies towards diversifying the sample, so the group of people I spoke to, we still have a few underrepresentations within the sample. A big one is BAME voices. And I really tried to change that in changing my recruitment strategy from generic purposive sampling, so the recruitment with a research flyer, to snowball sampling. And then there's great potential also for exploring some new identity categories participants described as the content of their coming out or as their disclosure. And then maybe it would be interesting to focus on an even more diverse group of job positions of people, because Cambridge can be historically has been very hierarchical, and still can be, of course, even within different job positions. So maybe to have LGBTQ plus identifying participants who work in college gardens, in college kitchens, who are maintenance or cleaning staff, that will be really interesting too. And I am planning to build on all of these three identified underrepresentations within my PhD, which is a continuation and expansion of the Out of Cambridge study.
Do you think the study will have a lasting impact?
I definitely think the study will have a lasting impact. I mean, it already had an impact, so many impacts actually, but one I can really see is the impact on my work. So, because of the Out at Cambridge study, of the research I was doing in connection to this project, I changed my PhD research to continue and build on this work. And I also got funded because of it. So there are people who got inspired and touched by the study and saw the importance of this topic, which led to me now being in a fortunate enough position to continue it. So I think in that sense, but that's my personal answer, of course, but that's how I see the impact of the study. And of course, I hope that my PhD will lead to even more impact in the future. So, yes.